What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. If you can tell from the background, I'm finally back home from Europe. Jet lagged like you wouldn't believe, but back here to give you some critical updates for some airdrops and we'll try to do an AMA later today where I address some of the comments, but keep engaging because you know what? If I see something that stands out relevant to this video, I will call it out in the chat. But before we get into anything, just remember, as always, nothing I say is financial advice. Please do your own research. And we definitely want to make sure that I see in the chat that you guys don't feel like you have to be on here all the time watching the latest updates, because there should just be fine tweaks to your strategy. The core bulk of your setup should be fluid and should not have to be dealt with. That's the ultimate goal, right? So let's get started. Before we do, just remember we do have a private group. It is cheaper to join on the Patreon if you want the extra coaching, guidance, and support. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today, I was on the plane coming home from Zurich, and we'll talk about sort of my experience over there later. But we know that staked Dimension token is going to be available. It's going to be the first liquid staked token for Dimension. And you probably remember when I did a video on this, I was, I think, the first content creator to break the news, at least on YouTube, around STTIA. I had saw the notification on Twitter by Stride, went on here, and the people who got in on that first day, I remember I made a lunch live stream. We ate pretty good because back then it wasn't diluted. Now, I did sort of made a strategy document for the Web3 Secret Society, but just so you guys know, it's going to be very similar to what we saw with TIA. Eventually, as time goes on, the snapshots, their value will get less and less. So to put this in perspective, I'm no longer in STTIA, but the first day I was in, I got like 35 Stride tokens. And the next day it was like 10. And by the way, the next day when it was 10, I think I had like doubled my amount. Maybe it was 15 that I got. Every day getting less and less, 5 tokens, 3 tokens, 2 tokens. Eventually I got out to front run the premium on the exchange. A lot of the same stuff is going to happen. We're going to see people jump in. I mean, they're going to jump in as soon as they can. In fact, I expect that given the announcement was yesterday, likely we'll see people unstake their Dimension from validators because it takes like 21 days, I believe, to unstake. So they can have this ready. So March 24th, I expect a bigger influx to come in. Obviously, it all depends on what we see. Remember, nothing is kind of consistent. You have to watch the market to give you a better idea of where the opportunity is. The early days, the opportunity will be here, and we don't know how it's going to change. Just remember, one of the things I will say for Stride is that regardless of what they tell you, they cannot 100% tell you that you will get an airdrop or you'll qualify for airdrops if you sort of have only ST Dimension. So just while they said it's a high probability, they cannot guarantee it. And as such, I almost assume like it's not that. Because for me, Dimension ranks in my number two in IBC token that I staked. So it's Celestia first, then Dimension. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, what I want you to do, and I want you to bookmark this, I put the link to everything in the description below. This is DeFi Llama. If you look up Stride, you can actually find out how their sort of TVL has evolved. And just by looking at this, you see the TVL for Stride was pretty low in December, 75 million. Went up all the way to now it's about 160 million. And you can actually see that the over here, Celestia stake is 55.65 million. I believe the first day it was maybe 8 or 10 million, but it 5x'd over the course of that time period. So if you're watching this, you'll be able to see when Dimension goes live here as well. And then you're able to see how it grows and you're able to make that adjustment. So keep doing that. Now, some people have sort of been commenting a ton on Twitter about the price of Dimension. Dimension did really well since it got airdropped. I remember telling you guys, I was staking the majority of it. I did sell, like not up here. I sold around like here, like $7 ish per token. on the ones I was selling. And then we saw that it sort of bleed out. Not surprising because, it's really been a Bitcoin and Ethereum dominated market with some, average size jumps on the other tokens. Like we saw Solana still do some good run ups to 135, Injective around 45. But Dimension has sort of been struggling a tiny bit, and people are talking about insider selling. So I wanted to sort of let you guys know, and this is sort of a chart that, or a pictorial that comes from Wacy Time. What you got to do is you should know when token unlocks are happening. These are just some of them. But the reality is, if you're not aware, you're going to be diluted. Because when these tokens get released to the market, then sort of the market cap goes up, people are able to sell some more. It's like you have less share of what's in the sort of pot. So one of the things you should always do is just be cognizant. I'm not saying you should go out there and sell all your Dimension, but hey, if you're going to buy some Dimension, maybe you wait until the token unlock happens, which is post March 6th. Obviously, this really depends on your Stride Dimension strategy, but there's a ton of other things that are taking place. You see Arbitrum has some of the same March 16th, same with Uniswap. Manta's March 18th. Remember, dilution is not your friend. You don't want that. So make sure you're on top of that. When it comes to Black Panther was once the darling of the Injective ecosystem. You guys probably know they have like money-making vaults. I remember when airdrop season at least kicked off for most people in December, Black Panther went from a no-name validator to number one because they promised stake drops. Well, most people were not happy with their progress, and as such, they kind of put something together, and let's just say it's not been that great. So if you want to see how you're doing in your Injective staking, all you got to do is go to this link. Remember, link in the description below. Connect your wallet and see how many reward points you've gotten. My best Injective wallet. To be fair, I only staked 30 Injective in this wallet. It got like not even 17 points. I got 12 points from it. I got 5 points from their money-making vault. It was a significant period of time. And one thing I will be honest with you guys about is, when Black Panther was fumbling it, I sort of switched over to Prism because the Prism airdrop should be better. They provide dashboards on Dune through some of their analysis. So this has caused me to make another change. And I wanted to bring this to you guys. What you're going to notice here, and this is consistent across all my wallets, I will no longer be staking Injective. The time for that is done. The Injective airdrops have not been good. Like, they've all been stake drops. They've really just been, well, if you've got $1 million, I'll give you $20. That's not really sort of what I'm interested in. From what I understand, the black token is sitting below 20 cents. I think it's around 15 cents. So what? I got like $3 for all of that, for picking their validator, plus like doing their money market vaults and everything. Yeah, we're good. So I'm unstaking this, and it's not to say I won't be involved in the Injective ecosystem, but I mentioned this like about a month ago. One of the things I think is sort of very important here is we have to sort of be, moving with the market. And with Injective, it was not the top priority. I saw Celestia really, come on top. It was the one that was the juicy airdrops, right? You think about sort of where people made money, it was Celestia, right? We even got like a mid-sized bag with alt layer, right? Like, you got 241 tokens at 50 cents. That's $120 for nothing. Look exactly what Injective is doing. So I'm out of Injective staking for now. I'm not going to revisit that. For those of you who are wondering, the Internet of Blockchains, IBC, for most people who ask, it is Celestia first, then Dimension, and then way lower Atom. But I prioritize at every level. And something that I had done, which I will sort of bring up here, I posted this on Twitter yesterday. So Arc Digital had announced their airdrop where they had 100 Celestia minimum, or between at least 1,200 Pyth, which, by the way, I've been telling you guys forever, get at least 12 to 1,400 Pyth. Looks like you could have either or to get it. Now, back in February 4th, what I had shown the people in the group was that, in a live stream I showed Smart Stake, you get a ton of the data on sort of how people are staking or number of stake tokens for whatever protocol you're looking at. So in Celestia, I wanted to be in the top 10 to 20% because what we noticed was there was tiering on most of the airdrops. So I basically said, okay, well, February 4th, I recommend, or for my case, I wanted to have at least 100 Celestia staked to put us in the top 10%. And I said, okay, we've got to change this over time. And I said, hey, I might hold some milk tea, etc. But then as time went on, I realized that, and I reached out to the Milk Chia team. I've never heard back. Both Stride and Milk Chia, it wasn't good enough to sort of make sure that I could get the actual airdrop. So the biggest reason is I think we will see some more massive airdrops coming for TIA that do not qualify for SC TIA or Milk Chia stakers. At the same time, this will cause a lot of people to take advantage of swapping out their STIA. So, all the details are here if you want to check it out. Kind of suffice to say, what I had done was really switch around my strategy. I closed my osmosis staking and my Kujira staking across wallets. And I was able to get 2 wallets with Celestia being over 100 tokens. I have no other wallets with Celestia right now. And I mean, it paid off, obviously a little bit lucky, but a part of it was also saying, hey, I can't spread myself too thin. A lot of people you're going to find on Twitter, on YouTube will tell you and try to get you to get into everything. And if you're literally getting into everything, you're never going to get anything good, or it's going to be very rare, right? Dimension was fantastic because you just needed 1 Celestia token. Seems like that time is gone because now protocols will be stupid to do that given how many people are sitting there creating farms. So to sort of minimize that, what we saw with StarkNet was they wanted a minimum balance. What we're seeing with other validators or other projects is to continue to raise the bar and then see after the fact how many people qualify. So for me, I would rather set myself apart from the pack. And even if I'm way overdoing it on Celestia, most likely it'll be tiered because that's what we saw, right? So that is sort of the idea here. And the one thing I do want to sort of bring to your attention as I talk about all this is the fear and greed index is getting so high. Just keep that in mind. One of the things you've got to just sort of be aware of is the market sentiment. When the market sentiment is super bullish, like to the point of extreme greed, at a certain point, because like at this point, it doesn't make any sense for anyone to sell, which is exactly the time it'll happen. As such, what I have done, and I'm going to talk about this in another video, I have closed a lot of my alt positions completely. I closed my render position. I closed some of my L2 positions, I closed half my Matic, all my Arbitrum, and all this other stuff, and just put it in Ethereum. One, because I think Bitcoin at the same price level for Bitcoin, Ethereum was around 4,000 something last time. So I think Ethereum still has a ton of room to grow. And I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are being pushed up heavily by ETF one is ETF speculation. Obviously, one is ETF inflows. Not to say alts are going to do bad because I still have a ton of Solana and others, but it's just something to be aware of. Not to say that alts won't do well. The crypto money cycle, it goes from fiat to Bitcoin to bigger alts to mid-sized alts to sort of small alts and memes and NFTs, and then back and forth around as you go. So just keep this in mind for those of you who are like, oh my God, that's such a good dip getting some of these alts. Not financial advice. You may want to wait a little bit. I like buying around here. I'm still overall bullish on the market, which is why I didn't put it into USDC when I was selling these. I wanted to put it into ETH. And once we sort of get back to sort of a little mid-sized thing, and once I start to see a rotation, then I will be more open to it. So the next thing I want to talk about, and guys, sorry, it's a lot of topics, is Nava Finance. I made a video on this. You probably remember. It was sort of a testnet approach, which you had to be a pipe staker. And as time went on, they kept expanding how many people they would give it to. Turns out only 500 people completed all the tasks that they asked for. To be fair, because out of 13,000 people, they weren't clear. There was no way to know if you did all the tasks. They said to do these following things, but it wasn't clear. So they basically sort of made a tiered allocation based on all of these points. Honestly, I'm not going to go through it with you. There's a spreadsheet that if you go to their official Discord, you can look yourself up either on week 1 to 2 or week 3 to 4. Or actually, the spreadsheet's right here. And now what's going to happen is they are distributing. So if you feel like you've earned some Amber token and you haven't gotten it, doesn't mean you got scammed. Literally, you just have to wait. They're doing it in batches, and it's going to take another week. Now, for you, what you can do is you can go onto the base network. So one of the things I tell people is make sure you go to chainlist.org. Chainlist is a really good site because basically through this, you can literally type in any protocol. In this case, I'll type in base. I connect my wallet. It will literally add this to my MetaMask or whatever wallet you're using. Another thing that's really cool is by clicking on this, you see all the RPCs. So, hey, I want something else. I can check this out. Also, it tells you what the native gas is because I've had a bunch of people ask me this. So the Amber token, I believe, is on base. And then what you got to do is once you're on the base protocol, you just copy this contract address into MetaMask, add this token, and it will tell you literally if you have it yet. If you don't, you just got to wait. You can see here it's on base just as a confirmation. Now, the next thing, and very quickly, Orbiter Finance, they continue to farm people. Farm people, we're going to farm them, who knows? I'm still doing it. Two things I want to highlight here. I've already taken care of these. With the launch of the Blast ecosystem, which we're going to cover in just a moment, they've launched a bit more tasks here for that. So kind of be aware of that. 3 points basically, because you just want to grab it. There's a lot of reduction in these withholding fees, which is how Orbiter makes their money. And then the last thing I'll say is I was trying to do this thing on Starknet, but unfortunately, because you connect your Argent wallet, it gets credited over there. So it doesn't actually show up here, which is kind of weird. One last thing I will say is I was trying to go from, for example, collect the Linea to Blast. So basically it said, hey, we want you to send some ETH from Linea to any network. And then there's another quest. We want you to send Blast some ETH from anywhere. So, okay, Linea to Blast, right? Linea is the source on one quest. Blast is destination on the other. Even though I did it, it only counted on one, and it counted it on the one that ranked the highest, like the lowest amount of points on this. So just be aware of that, so you can't actually map out routes like I initially thought. Interesting. We'll see how this sort of goes. Next thing, and I kind of spoiled it, the Blast mainnet is now live. So, for those of you who joined, you would have earned a ton of points over the last, I don't know, month and a half, 2 months. But now your Ethereum is free, whether you want to continue farming or sending it out. I think Manta could have learned a ton from this because they did it really fast. They made it very simple. And then now you just got your ETH. It was literally there. To claim your ETH, you have to wait for the gas prices to go down. Unfortunately, that's the one sucky part about having done this, is you have to wait for the GWEI to go down, likely to 20 to 40. Obviously, that's going to be hard to do when the bull market is sort of revving up. So I just want to show you guys, I ended up 11th place, or top 11% with 22,000 points. They also give you like a 7x multiplier depending on when you joined. For me, I got 7x. Some people probably got more. Some people got less. Who knows? But then that is the first step. So I ended up taking 0.5 ETH out of this and sending it to another chain. But I'm leaving this here because it does earn me 60 points per hour just by holding it here. Now, what I will be doing over the next little while, and this is more for the Web3 Secret Society, is I will be looking at the dApps they have below because I want to increase my multiplier and I also want to earn gold. So it's not to say that everything here is to be trusted, because remember this is all provided by third parties. Featured dApps are not guaranteed to be safe. So please don't just go in this blind and start using things out there. A protocol I really like that I've used before is Ambient. I know somebody else was talking about it in the chat. I think it was DGen Pilot. This is going to be something that I will be focusing on because it's a very good points program. Over here, you see that there's a ton of these protocols that have their own airdrop. So what I'm going to do is, I didn't want to come on here and, tell you guys to sort of do these things without me having done the research. So I'm going to make a video specifically around Blast and how to maximize now that I'm back. So we will exactly see what happens. The next is Parcel. So Parcel, as you know, is a place where you can speculate on rising and falling real estate markets. In fact, I made a video about this, a full airdrop guide, so make sure you watch it if you haven't already. Season 3 is starting right now. If you want the referral code, the brown jet right there. I do appreciate anyone who uses my code. We both get a bonus. If you know somebody else whose code you want to use, go for it. A couple things I wanted to sort of bring to your attention. They have some updates. The first thing is that I guess I don't know about if the trader amount has changed because I never did it. I recommended people to do the safe amount, but you get 2.5 points per USDC of open interest per day. Now LPers get 5 points per USDC locked per day. Before it was 4. What's really cool now is if you end up liquidating somebody, not you getting liquidated, but if you liquidate somebody else, you get 50,000 points for doing it successfully. There's probably like a little more details on this. And I'm glad they said you cannot earn points for being liquidated. One thing that will be interesting to find out is if people have multiple accounts and they put themselves in a position to get liquidated on like basically nothing, how are they going to track for that? Because what Parcel has been doing over the last little while is really trying to minimize the ways that people have been taking advantage of the system. Last season, they had posted an update saying you can no longer do delta neutral strategies on the same market. So you can't have one account that's going long on this sort of property and then another account going short on it. They didn't want that going on given the sort of the low volatility. Now they're coming out even and saying, hey, any sort of, if you sort of have multiple accounts and you use self-referrals, points from those prohibited activities are eligible to be revoked. And by the way, they did say, hey, there's a process. So if you want to just proactively disclose and minimize potential punishment, let us know. We saw CC2 Ventures. I mentioned this on there. But yeah, so it's very interesting. One of the things I will say here is I still think this is a very good opportunity. Season 3, they've been very open with their points program and their airdrop. I really, really think that, we can make a bunch on here. So this is still about a month out. And remember, if you put any liquidity into Parcel, you got to leave it there for like 30 or so days. Now, guys, I know I covered a ton. I'm exhausted. I got to go to the gym and everything else like that. I have seen a lot of what you guys are saying in the chat. Do appreciate it. We're going to do an AMA either probably today, probably tonight when I get some time. But I do want to do another topic with you guys. So make sure you stay tuned. I'm going to have a massive video coming out in the next 24-ish hours. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with someone that you know. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.